Hello, everyone, and welcome to the fifth episode of the Markets at a Glance episode. This is with FX Pesa. My name is Rufas Kamau, and I'll be taking you through today's session. So if you have any questions relating to the presentation, feel free to type those questions in the live comment section, and I'll be responding to those questions right away. So hello, Jacob. Hello, Emmanuel. Thank you. Thank you for your responses. Hello, Alan. Hello, the trending channel. Thank you, guys. So on today's presentation, we will be looking at markets at a glance. We want to try and understand what's currently happening in the markets, what is influencing the prices. And once we understand all that, then it becomes easy to identify trading opportunities and narrow down to trading levels. So it's a very important session for trading this week. So I'll begin with the most important thing, and that is the economic calendar. I don't think there's much happening this week. So if you compare with last week and what we saw last week happening in the markets, this week is largely quiet. So last week, we know that there was interest rate data. So the US raised interest rates by 75 basis points to 4%. Bank of England raised interest rates by 75 basis points to 3%. We also had the non-farm payrolls indicating that the US job market is very healthy. Also, the Canadian jobs data came up last week, and this was causing out of volatility in the market. So this week, we are majorly focusing on US inflation. So CPI inflation will be the most important data for the week. And this is expected on Thursday at around 4:30 p.m. So in the previous reading, it was an increase of 0.4%. This month, we expect a rise of 0.6%. And inflation is expected to contract from previously 8.2% to 7.9%. So basically, if inflation is going down, let's say to 8%, 79, or anything lower than that, it would mean that Fed policy is effective and it's having an impact in the markets. So it would create the necessary ground to pivot or for a lower interest rate hike. However, if inflation rate remains high, let's say at 8.2% or even higher, then in that case, it would imply that the interest rates are not being very effective and the Fed would be convinced to make an even bigger hike. So that this is one data point we are looking to combine with the non-farm payrolls data last week in order to get to understand the Fed policy. So once you get this, then perhaps you understand where the market is headed next. So besides these, for the rest of the week, we'll also be expecting GDP from the UK. So there is already fears from the Bank of England that the UK could be headed into one of the worst recessions ever. So in the previous reading, it was a contraction of 0.3%. In this case, the month of October, we expect another contraction of 0.4%. So you can already see the rates here, where the GDP was largely contracting in May and in June of 2020. Then it moved up, contracted another 2 months in January and March of 2021. And now we are going back to the negative territory. So with the war in Ukraine, the rising energy costs, there is a real potential that the US could head into inflation. And one of the biggest indicators of such inflation would be a negative GDP. So this will be a key data that a lot of investors will be following to speculate on the direction of the UK pound as well as UK equities. So definitely, if there is a much weaker GDP, then it would basically mean a weaker pound. At the same time, if GDP is strong, then you could be seeing a stronger pound. So besides this, I don't see much happening. One of the major news or events happening today is the US midterm elections, or basically the Congress elections. So all that is happening today. And at the end of the day, going towards tomorrow, we'll have a very strong direction of whether the current president, Biden, will have control of the Congress or whether he will not have such control. So it's a very important thing because if he loses control of Congress, then it becomes harder for him to pass bills through Congress. So that's one key thing that will be focused on today. So Tomorrow, very early in the morning at 4:30 a.m., we'll be focused on Chinese CPI. This is inflation data in China. So also a very important data point. And also for Japan, we'll be looking at the current account, or basically the difference between exports and imports. And these might have some impact on the JPY pairs. So as for the rest of the day, that is today, I don't think we have much that you're waiting for besides the congressional elections in the US. So we expect a largely quiet market. However, even if we have a largely quiet market, there's a key focus and a key development happening in the crypto sector. And that has been the major topic of the day or even the week. So as you can see, what we are looking at here is the chart of FTT. And FTT is basically the native token of the cryptocurrency exchange FTX, which is owned or headed by Sam Bankman-Fried, or basically in short SBF. So since last week, there has been rumors that this cryptocurrency exchange could be bankrupt as a result of the trading activity between its main trading partner, the Alameda Research Group, and also its FTT token being illiquid. So this was news that was shared last week by a very popular YouTuber called BitBoy. So if you don't know BitBoy, you should check out his tweets. Basically calling himself Ben Armstrong, but is popularly known in the crypto space as BitBoy. So this was 29th of October. That is about a week and a half ago. And as you can see, he said, if you don't close your FTX official account today and get your funds off the exchange ASAP, I'm sorry, but you are the definition of low IQ and you deserve what's going to happen to you. So this is one of the many tweets that they have been making over the last 2 weeks, basically raising red flags that there could be a lot of liquidity challenges with the FTT token, and eventually this came to pass. So in another tweet, he said, everyone is waiting to hear me say, I told you so about FTX official, but being rumored to be insolvent. I'm actually not going to do that. I'm certainly urged people to close their FTX accounts, but not because they are insolvent. Do what you have to do to withdraw funds. So he was telling people to basically withdraw their funds from that exchange because he has a strong belief that the exchange is insolvent, or it may not be able to meet or honor or customer withdrawals because they have been risking a bit too much with the Alameda research. So with that being mentioned, the most recent news that we saw on Sunday was the CEO of Binance, which is the world's biggest cryptocurrency exchange, mentioning that he's looking to liquidate his position in FTT. So Binance as an exchange had a big position, roughly worth about $500 million. So he mentioned that he's going to liquidate that in the open market in a careful way not to influence the prices too much. So immediately after that announcement, that was on Sunday, we saw the market jump all the way down. And by Monday, early in the morning, the token was down 14.56%. So then yesterday, the market traded in a sideways manner. Nothing much was happening. Then earlier this morning, we saw another plummet, market basically dropping from these levels all the way down, which was about 32% drop. So combined together from the highs that we were seeing last week to the low that we saw today, this is a 42.38% drop. And this is quite significant. It's making all the news in the cryptocurrency spaces today. So if you look at the most podcasts, they're trying to explain what is happening, basically because it's a war between the two top exchanges in the world, where one seems to be bankrupt and the other one is basically selling those tokens, increasing supply and driving prices lower. So after the sharp drop today, you should notice that the market attempted a comeback. So bumping from $14.9 per token all the way back to 18.854. And then from here, you can see the sideways momentum. And it seems like the market is unable to form a very strong recovery. So there is a good chance that the market will continue going back down. So potentially, I'm looking forward to the market dropping further to the previous low of 14.9 or even down lower. This is mainly as a result of the wild speculation that is happening, causing all this volatility. And the speculation is basically based on a panic. And with this panic comes increase in supply. So more sales of this particular token driving the prices much lower. So on the other hand, that is on the reverse case. We know that the company is not going to just sit idly and wait for people to drive its token down to zero. So what they are basically doing is selling their Bitcoin reserves. They normally keep most of their reserves in Bitcoin as well as other coins. So they are basically selling their Bitcoin reserves and using that money to purchase more FTT and support their price movement. So this reversal in price here is basically evidence of support. So if you look at Bitcoin and how it has been performing, it's a clear indication that yes, they're increasing the supply of Bitcoin. So despite being very strong and trading sideways for some good part of last week, breaking out to the upper side, we all remember trading inside this triangle before seeing the interest rate data. So when the interest rate data was announced last week, there was this wild swing up and down, and then the market remained within pattern and then broke up towards the upper side. And this was during the NFP or the non-farm payrolls. So market went up on Friday, back down and closed here. Monday moves sideways. And then today, as a result of the more sales of Bitcoin in the open market, this drove prices lower. And this is evidence that they are very, very strongly trying to support the FTT. So if you're a Bitcoin trader, this could eventually drive Bitcoin to a key price level. So remember, Bitcoin is still trading sideways. This is a sideways movement that started back in May. So we are trading within this range, a high of 22,500 and a low of 18,000. So moving sideways. Right now, we are closer to the lower side than the upper side. So if there was to be some further downside in Bitcoin, maybe towards 18K level, then that would present opportunities to buy Bitcoin at a lower price. However, if there's a movement towards the upper side, then targets would be around 22.5. So apologies, I need to close the window. I need to address the noise. So thank you for your patience. If you have any questions relating to the presentation, you always type them in the live comment section, and I respond to those questions right away. So there's a good request from Charlie Genius. Kindly check on US30, definitely. I'll be checking on that before we get to the end of the session. So for those who are not conversant with this, US30 is basically short for US 30 index, or basically the Dow Jones 30 index. So it has been one of the most volatile indices in the US, making a very sharp rise over the last couple of weeks. So as you can see, there was quite a number of weeks that it was extremely bearish, formed a double bottom kind of pattern here. So we can all see the W-shaped pattern. Here is the first leg of the W-shaped pattern, the second leg. And then since then, you can observe what happened after this. So after forming this W-shaped pattern, closed the neckline here, and then managed to rally for quite a good number of weeks here. So for 4 straight weeks going up, last week was a major bearish, but this week seems to be a continuation. So we're expecting the US 30 to continue rising. So remember, this is something that we had already speculated that we could see a potential bull run happening towards the US congressional elections. So the elections are happening today and the market seems to be quite bullish. But then immediately after today, then we have to be thinking about something else. So potentially, we can already see the market is struggling to break that level. So if I go to the 1 hour chart and then you look at the last week's highs, this particular level was tested 3 times. First time here, second time here, and also that time here. So now that the market is approaching this level here, it's very important that we weigh the potential that the market reverses and starts going down. So this is a level around $32,975 per share. So in this case, if the market is unable to break here, then a potential target would be last week's low, somewhere around here. So there's that potential that the market would now move back downwards. However, remember, this is pegged on the inflation rate data. So if inflation is moving in the right direction, then this might be not happening. We could see the equities continue to rally up. But then if inflation remains unreasonably high, then it means that the Fed will be more than likely to hike by another 75 basis points in December, and this could drive the equities back lower. So that's one of the key things to consider, that if inflation data basically implies a stronger Fed hike, then in that case, the equities could go back lower. However, if it's not the case, then we look higher. So potentially, there's this previous high here. There's also these 2 previous highs here. So it's always important to look at the points in between the points, or the resistance in between the major resistance levels. So with these 3, then it makes a lot of sense that if the market breaks this level, then the next target remains just here. And if the market breaks that, then potentially, then you could see the price rising to the next resistance, which is 34,294. In between is 33,486. So that's the potential targets for the US 30 index. So good question from Joseph. So FTT won't go to the direction of Luna. That is still a real possibility as we speak right now. So Luna is one of the major cryptocurrencies that went down earlier this year. So there's that potential that FTT could also go down to 0, especially if selling pressure continues in the markets. So from what we are seeing, there's no reasonable chances of saying we are seeing 100% recovery. So the only options that are left, in my opinion, that is from the FTT side, is one, SBF could look for investors to lend him quick money in order for him to support the token by buying more of this token out of supply. So if he gets lenders as quickly as possible, either internally or externally, then he could use that money to raise funds, to support the token immediately and push the prices back up. So on the other hand, if you look at the potential for getting such a loan or such financial support, then you have to consider some factors. One, if it's the politicians, they're already done with their campaigns. So they're not doing any further campaigns. So probably they will not be ready to give him money. So if it's the banking and the tech sector, you know that they're already overstretched but by what is happening in the markets. So there's not a lot of firms that are currently sitting in excess liquidity or excess funds that they're ready to dish out. They're already managing bad positions in the bond markets, bad positions in the equities markets. We know that the equities have been in a bear market. So we don't have a lot of liquidity flowing around. And at the same time, when it comes to interest rates, if he was to secure such funding, then the interest rates would be very expensive because the US is currently lending at 4%. So with the rates rising to 4% last week, it's only making the problem even bigger for SBF. So that's on one side. The other side, we know what has been happening since January 2020. So we started with the Reddit guys, basically driving meme stocks higher, multiple of 100%. This happened with the GameStop saga. happened with the other stocks, including cannabis stocks. And currently, it's also happening in the crypto markets. So whenever they identify one player as weak and can be exploited, then they basically gang themselves up into one big force. And in this case, if they want to drive prices lower, then they basically just short more of this asset in the open market, and this drives prices lower. So just to give you an insight of what's happening right now in these markets, you just have to look at a couple of articles on Cointelegraph. Let me see if I can find one that shows the open interest. And remember, this is a couple of hours ago. The open interest is rising by the minute. So FTX token parameters as market fear as possible, Alameda contagion. Here it is. So this is the open interest. Currently at $215.5 million. So around $215 million is on the short side of this coin. And if you look at the long side, this is $11.61 million. So unless they come up with more money to fight this selling force, then the prices are almost guaranteed to keep going down. So that is something we have to be aware of. So as long as more and more of these websites keep publishing news about the FTX going down and driving confidence that the price will keep going down, then in that case, we'll be expecting price to keep going down unless they get more money and support the coin towards the opposite direction. So at the same time, we know that Binance is slowly unloading its position, which is roughly about $500 million. So with $500 million still also on the short selling side of this particular coin, then the selling force is much higher, and we expect the prices to keep on going down. So we have to keep following the news closely. Remember, it can also be a political situation where they can also agree to calm things down. And if they do so, then this could support the price back up. But if such things don't happen, then potentially the direction is downwards. So just checking, make sure there is no question that I've missed. So will the Congress polls affect the dollar? Definitely it will affect the dollar. I just don't know how. We know that Republicans have their own policies that sometimes are opposing to the current administration. So if they happen to win majority of Congress, they could have their own bills that they are ready to implement immediately, and this could have an impact with the dollar. They also have their own policy, which is basically against the amount of money they are pumping into Ukraine. So that's also something to consider. It might have an influence on the direction of the dollar. I just don't know what direction. So will FTX collapse? This is highly unlikely. If the FTT collapses, it doesn't mean that FTX collapses. So those are two different things. FTX is the exchange. FTT is the native token. So if the native token was to go down, FTX still has a lot of fans, a lot of clients, and a lot of financial base. So chances of completely collapsing are basically highly unlikely. So lastly, I need to check on gold. I think this is the last thing that we'll be checking on today before we end the session. So gold has been quite crazy. Managed to rise very well last week, but now personally I was looking for a trade in the opposite direction, but it doesn't seem to be quite cutting it. What I'm observing here is a market that is eventually trading itself into a range. Don't like the range. I wanted a straight up reversal, but you trade what you see, not what you want. So what I'm seeing here is more or less over some form of flag, basically a consolidation. So it's quite a common expectation to see the market behaving like this, especially when you're expecting major news. So the major news that we're expecting in the market, as I already mentioned, is the inflation data. So the inflation data might be the one to eventually break this range. So yesterday, notice the market opened with a gap, attempted closing the gap, went all the way back down and then up, closed the gap completely, went back down today, kept going down, bottomed here, went back up. And in the short run, we are basically looking at the market trading within the range and getting maybe to the upper trend line and then back down lower up until we get the news. And the news in this case refers to the CPI, which will be happening later in the week. So as for now, gold is trading in a flag formation after this strong momentum that we experienced last week. So thank you very much, guys. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your participation. Also, one last thing to mention, if you are a cotton trader, after the 20% rise, it seems like the market is eventually now breaking up higher towards the next resistance. So I almost forgot to mention these. So cotton futures are making a very, very strong rally, a very strong case for bullish momentum. So from this bottom here, you can see just a moment, from this bottom, rally all the way up. I wonder why it's not displaying. So this is what we had over the course of last week, 25% rally. This was really good. And then after the 25% rally, the market started trading within a pennant. So a pennant is a triangular flag, and this can be easily observed on a smaller time frame, and this is the 15 minutes chart. So from here, you can see that the breakout is happening now. So with this new breakout happening now, we know what to target. It's not very far off. The most recent high was right here, around 90.097. And now that the market is building a very strong case after this bearish channel, notice how it broke the upper trend line and then rallied all the way up, consolidated here, and now it's breaking up. So the target is not very far off, but it's just a very short-term target, but 90.097 seems like a reasonable target. So from this sideways momentum for yesterday and today, a breakout today basically implies that there's a good chance we will be seeing the cotton futures trade right up towards the $90. So about $1.2 per contract here, moving upwards. So that's the bonus for today. I hope to see you guys on the next session. So one last comment here. Stumbled on your novice to pro series. It's been a fun since. Thank you, Nick. Hope the series was helpful to you. So there was a mention of a Telegram group. When sharing the link, please. Yes, but this is not the company Telegram group. This is my own personal Telegram group. You can find it on my Twitter handle. If you want a link, I can share. No harm, no foul. So just a moment. So there goes the link. I hope that was the right link. No, that wasn't it. All right, link shared. Thank you guys. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your participation. I hope to see you on the next session. So remember, the next session will be markets, live market analysis on Thursday, and this will be happening at 8 p.m. So be prepared for the session, and also keep checking on the recordings live available on the FX Spacer channel.